Hey everyone, so last week I managed to find myself what might be my perfect lens for the Pentax 6.7, and that is the 90mm f2.8 leaf shutter lens for the Pentax 6.7. So I went to one of my local camera shops and I was looking in the second-hand section and I saw this Pentax lens. So I went and had a look. It looked a bit different, had the ports on the side to show that it was a leaf shutter lens. So I asked the guys how much it was and they said, oh, it's 200 Australian dollars. Because the leaf shutter doesn't actually work. So I thought, oh, is it worth it? Don't know. I went home, didn't get it. And then the next day I thought, actually, you know what? $200 for a 90mm 2.8, that's a good price. Even if the leaf shutter doesn't work, that's still a good walk around everyday lens. And that's very cheap. So I went over back to the shop again and I got it. So since bringing it home, or since buying it, I've put 2 rolls through the camera with it and I'm very happy. It has a slightly better close focusing distance than the 105. It focuses down to 0.85 of a meter, so a little bit closer than the 1 meter that you get on the 105, but it's a very similar focal length, just a smidge wider, and I kind of like that. Normally I like to shoot on sort of a 35 or a 28, so the 105 is quite tight, so this is just a little bit better. I mean, not as good as what the 75 would be or a 55, but still a bit of a different length, or a bit wider, which is what I like. So also with testing, I think that the leaf shutter does work and that the people at the shop just didn't know how to test for it properly. So I'll show you how I've tested for it. If you own this lens or you've used the leaf shutter in this lens, please let me know if it's correct or if you think it's working or if you think it's broken or maybe I'm just crazy. But yeah, so the first couple of rolls I put through this camera was just with a friend. He wanted to do a shoot, so we went out to the city and we just did a really quick shoot. We shot 2 rolls within about an hour or if that, and then we just took a few sort of fashion portrait style photos and stuff like that while we were out. I'm very happy with how this lens turns out. Nice and shallow depth of field because of the 2.8 and being on medium format. Good close focusing. It's nice bright lens obviously with the 2.8, so you can see through the you can see you're focusing really well. So I think I only missed focus on maybe 1 shot, which isn't too bad. And then yeah, I'm very happy with it. The background blur is pretty good, and a few other things. So I'll throw up some images on the screen, and I'll probably give a more in-depth review a bit later on after I've used it a bit more, or even after I've tried to put it through the through its paces in the studio. If I just get a flash sync port or cord, I can just test it out and see if it works or make sure it works, but I'm 90% sure it does. So anyway, I'll show you what I mean with the leaf shutter in a second, and enjoy the photos. So as far as I can tell, the way you test the way to get the leaf shutter to work is, you first want to set your camera, your Pentax, where you open the door and you do the trick to get the shutter to fire without any film, just so you can test it without wasting shots. So what you want to do is you want to set your camera to less than 1/8 of a second. So I've got mine set to a quarter of a second. So then from there, you want to crank the shutter on the Pentax so it's ready to fire. If I just fire it normally, quarter of a second. We're at let's go f8, so you can sort of see the aperture inside. I don't know if you can see this very well, but if I just look down here. So 1/4 of a second at f8. So then what you want to do is, to test it, you crank the shutter, you then crank the leaf shutter, so that's cocked. You want to have it in the U mode underneath here, And then from there I have it set to 1/30th of a second. So if you look in here, I'm not sure if you can see, but it almost has like a double shutter fire. So the leaf shutter after the 1/30th of a second, it opens up the aperture and then it just shuts, which helps to keep the, obviously to keep your exposure at 1/30th of a second, not 1/4. So you can only really see it at 1/30th, but if I then go to 1/500th of a second with the leaf shutter and I fire here, you're probably just seeing the shutter close. I haven't actually looked at it. If that one didn't work, I didn't cock it. So cocked, 1/500th. So that should have, yeah, fired the leaf shutter. So I think this is how you test it. You need to be on less than 1/8 of a second from all the videos that I could see, which is maybe why the shop was confused. They might have just put it into flash sync mode, or they might have just put it under 1/30th and assumed that it would have worked, or just tried it at any shutter speed. But yeah, it seems to work. 1/30th, shutter cocked here. I don't know if you can see this aperture or the leaf shutter in the actual lens. But yeah, as far as I can tell, it works. So if you know how the Pentax 6.7 leaf shutter lens works, let me know if this is correct or if it sounds correct. But from what I can gather, this is how it works and it's working perfectly fine. All right, thanks guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll do an update later on once I test this camera out in the studio as to whether it works or not, or with this lens. And if it does, I think it could be my perfect lens. Good all-rounder, good carry lens, good sort of everyday photo lens. Nice and bright, great for portraits, and also good in the studio. So I'll keep you updated, so subscribe if you want to see that, and yeah, have a good one everyone.